Hi, everyone. Welcome to Four Women and a Funeral podcast. We are having a great time today because we have a very special guest. This is actually our first guest that we've ever had on Four Women and a Funeral, and we're thrilled to have Patty Neuswanger, who is now the new Senior Director of Operations for Funeral Women Lead, formerly with NFDA, formerly with Selected, formerly with some non-for-profits, and she's going to tell us all about her experiences in the association work as well as kind of her passion for helping women and helping women grow into leaders and being the best of themselves. So welcome, Patty.
Thank you. Wow. First guest. No pressure there. Let me tell you.
No pressure at all. Well, just so you know, everybody, that this podcast is sponsored by Funeral Women Lead, an organization that supports and unleashes the greatness in women to develop them as leaders in the future of the funeral and death care profession. And Patty's going to talk a little bit more about all the things we do. But I want you to meet first some of our founding board members for Funeral Women Lead. Elisa Carr. Say hi, Elisa. She is a funeral director, CEO, owner of Kelco Funeral Supply in Big Lake, Minnesota. How's the weather up there, lady? Is it getting colder?
Very good. Good, yeah.
Awesome.
No, actually, it's quite warm. It's warm pretty much all over the country, but we had a fake fall.
A fake fall. Yeah, we did too. I was in Missouri a couple weekends ago and visiting my home state, and oh my gosh, it was 72 degrees. It was fabulous. Just loved it there. And then I come home to Colorado again, my second home, and it's hot. So what's going on with this weather?
Leaves are turning already.
I know. And Melissa Posey-Luce, funeral director and senior vice president of communications for Security National Financial Corporation. Welcome, Melissa. Good to have you again. Good to see you. Yep. Can we hear you?
Yes, maybe. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You're sounding great. She just got off the plane from Europe in 2 weeks and been traveling all over the place. We'll have to hear a little bit about that too. And Ellen McBrayer, who's a funeral director, CEO, and owner of Jones Wynn's Funeral Homes and Crematory in Villa Rica, Georgia. Did I say that right?
You did,
Rica,
yes.
Rica. I always want to go
Rica.
Rica,
Yes.
Rica. That's the Spanish person in me. And you also, of course, are the 25-26 NFDA secretary. And we're just thrilled to have you as part of permanently Four Women and a Funeral, because we are four women, and we can do funerals. We can do a lot more than that, but we can also have some fun. So we're all funeral directors. We all come from different backgrounds and places. And Patty, you are here because we wanted to get to know you, and we want the world to get to know you a little bit better. You've been behind the scenes in so many associations, and we're going to push you out front a little bit more. So tell us about Patty and everything Patty.
Well, how much time do you have?
We got time.
Well, first of all, I think what's amazing is I'm sitting here with the Funeral Women Lead team, and none of these are unfamiliar folks. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. It is a small world in the funeral profession. I have had the pleasure of working with all of you prior to me joining the Funeral Women Lead team. So again, that just speaks to how intimate this profession is and how fortunate I feel to be able to rekindle my relationships with each one of you and this passion we have for the profession. So I don't want to go into a lengthy background, but I think maybe it's probably important for people to know who don't know me that my journey in funeral service started when I began with Selected Independent Funeral Homes back more than 10 years ago. I started in a marketing capacity, but after some time, I transitioned into the position of engagement director. And I think that really that position really changed my trajectory in terms of working in the funeral space, because what I think I gained the most value from was my ability in that role to visit more than 300 funeral homes nationwide, where I was actually visiting firms, owners, meeting the staff and the team at all of these different places, touring their locations, hearing about what makes their firm unique, the demographic challenges and everything that was going on in each of their individual funeral homes. So I get to hear their stories and firsthand challenges and opportunities and all of that. So that really helped me have a better understanding of funeral service. Although I am not a funeral director, my role was to try to find ways that at that point, House Selected Independent Funeral Homes as an association could help and provide value to owners and the staff members at those funeral homes.
Did you figure it out, Patty, when you were traveling all over the country?
Well,
How do you provide value?
Well, and again, I would always say it's like, a menu at a Chinese food restaurant, right? You've got all of these different services and benefits that you can offer an individual funeral home, but a lot of this is predicated on what your needs are, and everyone's needs are different. And you're still serving families, but how you're serving families in different marketplaces and what the size of your firm, what your needs are. And so it was really, not everybody wants the same thing on the menu, right? You don't necessarily want to order the same thing off of a long menu of items, but that's the beauty of what associations and organizations offer. You figure out what it is that you need from their offering, and you take that and you make that valuable for you. So that's your value added proposition. So there's no one cure or prescription, if you will, for success for any one place, but making sure that people are aware that these resources are available.
Sure. And I think that they feel well cared for. I mean, isn't that really what we do as funeral professionals? We care for our staff and we care for our families each day in and out, and our client families as well. Elisa, you with Kelco Funeral Supply, you've always been there during the pandemic, especially for everybody in funeral service to really help them. And I know, Patty, you're traveling around the country. That was a yeoman's job there. That was 300 funeral homes. It's crazy. But you and I also did something really cool at Selected. We helped start the very first women's program, and you were just very passionate about that, and you've continued that passion throughout your career, I think, and you believe in helping bring up and uplift. I hear this a lot from people that have worked with you, that you uplift others and you mentor to this next generation of funeral professionals and staff members that you work with, and that you are highly respected in that regards. Tell us a little bit about your journey into NFDA.
Well, the journey to NFDA, it seemed like a natural. First of all, I relocated to Wisconsin. I was living in Illinois for 20 years, relocated to Wisconsin. And ironically, the national headquarters of funeral NFDA is like kind of through the woods. We joke, I would ride my bike to work and I could walk to work. So that was a beautiful thing. So that was geographically, it was very appealing. But what I really wanted to do is sort of expand my skill set and still remain in the funeral space. And so at NFDA, my position was VP of Education and Meetings, and I felt really strongly that I could bring some value to that, having all of this experience of actually sitting down and having conversations with people and understanding what their needs were. And so it was sort of taking that, feet on the street experience and bringing it into the national level and trying to design educational opportunities for people based on what their needs are. And so that was really, a valuable, I think it helped my journey, especially just building that, based on that information and those relationships that I had built. And obviously, as you get more involved and you learn more about members and you hear their stories, you recognize that there are needs. And so trying to find the needs and trying to find what it is that is going to bring value, that's obviously what an association or an organization wants to do. They want to help their members in finding out what it is that they need. So, we continued to look at the educational offerings, and the education and the meetings team that was kind of my group. And so when we were looking at educational offerings, one of our goals was to substantially increase the percentage of new presenters that we have at our convention. So for example, we do about 40 some workshops at NFDA during the convention. And so trying to bring new and fresh voices so we're seeing different faces. And I said, I want to be able to look at what we're offering in terms of workshops and say, I don't recognize those people, because we want to have fresh voices. We want to bring new people to the table. And I think that's what we need, right? To bring in fresh voices and not just always be hearing from the same people. Obviously, we have a lot of expertise in the industry, but we want to be inviting of different faces, and whether it's women or diversity in terms of the kinds of people that we're hearing from, I think that was really important. That was an objective for me for sure.
Obviously, you did a great job. I think NFDA's educational programs, Ellen, you can probably chime in here too, really have stepped up a notch since you were there the last few years. And I know you just did a yeoman's job, as Melissa did when she was there with the Professional Women's Conference. So thank you for that. I think she's done a great job. I know NFDA is still our friend. We still love them. We are all NFDA members and still support them. And I know there was a part of me that when you called to say, "Hey, I hear you have an opening at Funeral Women Lead," that I was like, "No, you can't leave NFDA because they're going to be really mad at me." And I've been a member for a long time, and I have really good friends there. And in our work lives, ladies, I think we all transition during different times. Some of us have been in one place for all of our career, as I was at Bowie's. But there was a time where I knew it was time for me to step back and let others lead, and it's always good to recognize that. And maybe we find another place that we feel we are a good fit. So, let's segue from there into
Can
Patty,
I
where
say
you are
one thing?
now.
Can I
Yes,
say one thing?
please
What I'm
interject.
most looking forward to. I've known Patty for, well, I guess way before she even, I'd say probably be 12 or 13 years. Anyway, what I'm most looking forward to is not just the level of energy that she like exhumes wherever she goes. I think she said it herself. She listens to those that are around her and kind of pins that and understands what value they're looking for. So for our audience, it's exactly what they're looking for: somebody to listen to them, and really care about what happens, what the outcome is with this. So I think we're in really good hands having Patty on our team, and I think our audience will resonate with that and
Yeah,
really
I
really
want
take it to heart.
totally second that. Having worked with Patty at NFDA, she definitely listens and she definitely knows about mentoring someone and helping them grow. And I know that that's a big part of profession of our Funeral Women Lead organization. We want people to grow.
Hmm.
And I heard a podcast this morning on the way into work, and they were talking about, trying to find, they were talking really to a lot of different, groups of women, but specifically younger women in whatever profession you're in. And they say, it takes a lot of time to find yourself. But when you find those things that give you energy, and really lift you. That's where that is your specialty, right? And the things that drain you, just put that aside. And Patty is so good at helping people identify that and grow that. And so anyway, we're really lucky to have her. And so I just couldn't help but second that.
Yes.
Thank you, Melissa. That's very
Yeah.
kind to say. I want to just put in a plug for a book that I recently read, and it's by David Brooks. I don't know if any of you have read it. It's called How to Know a Person, The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen. That book has really changed me, really changed me in terms of the perceptions and the importance of listening to people, and some of the key components. I guess the key component or the key idea in that book is that there are two types of people in the world. There are diminishers and there are illuminators. And I think, we talk about lifting each other up, and I think surrounding one another and surrounding yourself with people that are illuminators is critically important. And as far as a leadership skill, making sure you are that person, you are an illuminator, you are finding the opportunities to help people grow. And it's a simple concept, but a lot of work needs to be done in terms of retraining our brain to make sure we're thinking about that in terms of how are we presenting ourselves to others, and how are we helping lift people. And so my mantra is, be an illuminator, not a diminisher.
So I've got a
I
quick
like that.
question then. Thinking about all of these, you have gotten to really interact with a variety of people, wide variety of people in our profession through your various roles. How do you well, let me roll that back. What are some of the needs that you've heard, and how do you think Funeral Women Lead is going to be able to lean in and really be an illuminator in the space?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I think I've heard this said, and I think this is true. Talking about the broken rung. Like women are come into the space and they want to climb the ladder from leadership to ownership, and I think we have to find a way to make sure that there's not a broken rung in our ladder, right? To elevate, and I think. Just the whole mission of what Funeral Women Lead is all about is really trying to do that, to create opportunities, not only by creating relationships and support for one another, but sharing of stories. And we learn from each other by sharing stories. And the old phrase that like misery loves company. I'm not saying that's the right approach, but
Wait,
so true.
that's why we're all together, because
Right.
misery
I
loves
mean,
company here, right? Come
it
on, let's be
challenge.
real.
Challenge, challenge is what unifies us often, right? So I think that's an important thing. And I'm going to say this because having been to so many funeral homes, and I know like we talk about creating work-life balance and all of these great things that are, not pie in the sky. That's not what I want to say, but that is the ultimate, right? We want to make sure that we're creating that opportunity for people to have a work-life balance. And this profession is incredibly difficult to do that. It's just by the nature of the profession. But I can tell you this, that none of that is going to change until the people who have the impact and the power to make that change in their businesses do it. And so, like I said, I've been to so many different funeral homes, and depending on your size and your bandwidth of people and all of that, will impact how you maybe embrace that or don't embrace that. But it's about educating people, and the people that are impacted by a work situation where they don't have that flexibility or that is not a priority. We can talk about that all day long, but until the people who are making the decisions and creating that space to do that, it's not going to change. And so that's what I think is really important, that we're educating not only the women who are gathering, who are talking about the challenges they have, but the people that are making those, that are creating that environment, right? So it's about educating and sharing experiences and demonstrating how when we do things right, everything is better, right? We're talking about retaining people, right? The retention issue. I think this is interesting too, having come from the background of organizing events, right? So the meetings, we had meetings for NFDA and for selected, and I would hear this frequently, that owners would not want to send their employees, whether it was females or any of their staff members, to an event in person for fear that their staff was going to be cannibalized by someone else. And I think that's a huge I mean, that's a challenge, because one, we're in a market where there's not enough people for the jobs, and so it's a concern, it's a valid concern, but that totally works against us in our desire to bring people up and educate and elevate and provide opportunities for leadership and learning, because you have this, an owner would be hesitant to maybe send somebody off to an event in person because of that exact reason. So I think those are things that I'm not sure what the exact answers are, but I think it's important that we talk about that. And even, for example, bringing this back to our Leadership Academy and the Wellness Summit, which I'm plugging that right now, but we actually put on our website a kit. It's basically a resource kit for someone who wants to go to to either of these events, and it's a justification toolkit, if you will, that says, hey, I would like to go to this, and these are the reasons why it's valuable for me to go. So I think we're trying to help people who want to attend these types of educational events to get buy-in from the person who's making the decision, who's giving them the opportunity to actually leave the firm for a few days and mingle with with their cohorts and their peers, whether it's just for 2 days or if it's a year-long journey like our Leadership Academy. So yeah.
It sounds like there could be opportunities too for people that are fearing losing people, to be illuminated. And
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking as well,
yeah, and
Melissa.
step back and think,
I feel
like,
there's
why?
an
why
education to be had on the other side.
yeah, like, why would they want to leave me?
Right.
If
Yeah, go ahead, Elisa.
Well, the and I can speak to this personally because I've sent employees to different events, and one of them was a women's event. She's been there twice now, and she came back from the first one, and she basically said, "I have feel like I've been renewed." Right? She's so grateful that you sent me and gave me the opportunity to go there and learn from people that I'm talking to on the phone. Um, but as an employer, if you're investing in their wellness, their being, their education, like giving them the opportunities to learn more about who they're working with, in this profession, it sends a message to your employees that you actually care, right? Opposite of,
Right.
"No, I'm not going to send you." And I've talked to many of those too, but I feel like the message by sending them is far more powerful than keeping them hidden behind your doors of your funeral home.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and,
Ellen,
and
go
I
ahead.
think for a lot of funeral directors, that fear is real, because I have a great relationship with our team. When people come back from the cemetery and at another funeral home where they have a combo unit and they say, yeah, they came out from the funeral home just to try to approach me about a job, so, it's not, that's just the kind of stuff that unfortunately does happen. But I think Richard Branson said it best when Richard Branson says, train people well enough so that they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to leave, right?
Yep.
So they don't want to. And that's really the culture that we tried to have in the environment for our funeral home family. And it works because the ones that don't stay are the ones that aren't the ones that have the same vision and heart for funeral service that we do. And so they need to go somewhere else because obviously, the way we care and the attention to detail that our brand and that our funeral home family pours into other people, a lot of people just say, y'all work too hard. Like these details, like you care about where the boxes of Kleenex are in the chapel. Well, yeah, absolutely. There's not every funeral home does. And so, I had another lady that said, I absolutely love that y'all have this, and this in the women's bathroom because when my mom died and I was at another funeral home, it wasn't like that, and the details matter. So, that's why you also you should know your funeral home. For the people that might be listening to this that aren't in our industry or in our profession, go to funeral homes, interview them, walk through, get to know your local funeral directors because it matters. Details matter during the times that you need it the most. And so, I do like that quote by Richard Branson, because it's very
That's
true.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, it's kind of sad that today that employers can't see the value of the education. There is a lot of education online, and maybe they feel a little safer with online. And that's one of the reasons our Women's Leadership Academy is kicking off for one day in person on November 17th, and then we go online the rest of the year. And we hope to have some guest speakers like some of you here on this podcast, and they'll be able to continue their learning and hopefully be able to take what they're learning and give it back. And the National Emerging Leaders Program too, that NFDA is doing, same thing. They get together once a year and then they go online and they work together all year long. Maybe that's part of the answer, is to have programs that are kind of not always in person, but also online. I think Patty, one of the things I'm grateful for in her coming to us is that she really is wanting to listen closely to what the needs of the profession are, and as well as women, because that's really critical. That's who we are and that's what we stand for. And we want to know what women need more of, right? We want to continue to support the Professional Women's Conference that NFDA hosts every year. It's amazing. It's fantastic. We're there. All of us are there every year, most of the time. And we want to continue to complement that with what we're doing in the areas of wellness and leadership development for women. So, Patty, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate you. And as
Thank you.
all of us here at for Women in a Funeral, right, are really excited to see what you're going to do next. And please stay in touch and let us conclude with that. And anything for the good of the order, ladies, back to Patty, out to the audience today, and we will see you in October. This is our September recording, and we're here to put a little plug in, obviously, for Funeral Women Lead and its deadlines and things coming up, pardon the pun, in November. But it's coming soon, and it's very soon in September, so get your reservations in. Our rooms are almost sold out. Our Leadership Academy just has a few openings left. 2 openings left in the Leadership Academy.
Spots.
2 spots, that's it. Holy cow, because we're capping it at 15. We believe it needs to be a small, very cohesive group that works very closely together during the year with our Dean, Kristen Ernst. And then the Women's Wellness Summit is the 17th through the 19th. We've got some great partnerships, and if you are listening in and you'd like to be part of it, please let us know, because we have a few partnerships left, but not many. We've been really well supported. NFDA has been very supportive of us and reposting all our messages as we do theirs. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Anything else for the good of the order today, ladies?
Just make it a great one.
Make it a great one. Unleash your greatness, right?
Right.
Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Patty.
Bye.
Bye.
For Women and a Funeral is a Crabshell Media podcast.